The amethyst light of Xylos Prime bathed the grand conclave chamber in an ethereal glow, illuminating the faces of the assembled archons. But even this celestial radiance could not penetrate the gloom that had settled upon the ancient hall. Holographic projections shimmered in the air, displaying complex stellar charts, cryptic sensor readings, and most disturbingly, the fragmented image of a vessel unlike any they had encountered in their millennia-long reign. Silence, heavy and expectant, hung in the air, broken only by the rhythmic hum of the chamber's life support systems. Archon Zil, his chitinous face etched with worry, finally broke the silence. "The initial reports were unclear," he began, his voice a low, resonant rumble that echoed through the hall. "A single burst transmission, seemingly random, originating from the outer fringes of known space. A Class 4 anomaly dismissed as nothing more than cosmic noise until now." He gestured towards the fragmented image. "This vessel, it appeared near the Xylos mining colony on Cygnus VII. It did not respond to hails. It did not transmit any identifying signals. It simply existed." Archon Lyra, her multifaceted eyes glinting with concern, spoke next. "The report indicated aggressive maneuvering. Was there a threat to the colony?" Zil paused, his mandibles clicking softly. "No, it maintained a safe distance. It simply orbited Cygnus VII for precisely 7.2 solar cycles, conducting scans. Then, it departed at an impossible velocity, leaving behind only residual energy signatures that defied all known physics." The unsettling image vanished, replaced by a star chart highlighting the vessel's projected trajectory. "Its current heading directly towards Xylos Prime." A collective murmur rippled through the conclave. Xylos Prime, the heart of their civilization, the pinnacle of their technological achievements, the seat of their power for countless generations. The very idea of an unknown entity approaching their homeworld with such blatant disregard for protocol was an affront, a chilling harbinger of potential conflict. Archon Vor, a towering figure known for his pragmatic approach, spoke with a voice that brooked no dissent. "We must prepare for the worst. Scramble the defense fleets. Alert the planetary shield generators. This vessel must be intercepted before it reaches our atmosphere." Lyra, however, raised a dissenting claw. "Vor, caution is paramount. We know nothing about this entity. A hasty response could be interpreted as an act of aggression, potentially escalating the situation." "Escalation?" Vor scoffed. "It is already escalating. A ghost ship appearing out of nowhere, ignoring all communication attempts and heading straight for our home. What more do you need to see before you recognize a threat?" Zil raised his hand, silencing the escalating argument. "Enough. We must proceed with a measured approach. The defense fleets will be placed on high alert, but they will remain cloaked, hidden beyond the asteroid belt. We will attempt communication once more. If that fails, we will deploy a small interceptor squadron to shadow the vessel, gather intel, and assess its capabilities. But absolute discretion is advised. We cannot afford to provoke a confrontation unless it is absolutely necessary." Archons nodded in agreement, their collective anxieties palpable. For millennia, they had ruled the galaxy, their power unchallenged, their knowledge unsurpassed. But this was different. This was an unknown quantity, a disruption in the carefully ordered tapestry of their existence. A cold dread settled upon them, a feeling of vulnerability that they had not experienced in eons. What were they dealing with? What were its intentions? And perhaps most importantly, were they truly prepared for what was to come? Silence returned, deeper and more profound than before, broken only by the quiet hum of the conclave chamber, a constant reminder of the immense responsibility that rested upon their shoulders. They were the guardians of Xylos Prime, the protectors of their civilization. And in that moment they felt utterly, terrifyingly unprepared. The sensorium buzzed, a discordant chime that cut through the tense atmosphere. Archon Lyra, her multifaceted eyes widening, spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "The vessel. It has altered its course. It is no longer heading towards Xylos Prime." A collective sigh of relief swept through the chamber, a momentary reprieve from the crushing weight of anxiety. "Where is it going?" Zil demanded, his voice sharp with urgency. The holographic projection shifted again, displaying the updated trajectory of the unknown vessel. It was heading towards a remote, uncharted system far beyond the established trade routes, a desolate region devoid of any known resources or strategic value. "It makes no sense," Vor muttered, his brow furrowed in confusion. "Why would it deviate from its course at the last moment? What is it searching for?" Lyra examined the new trajectory with meticulous care, her powerful mind racing to analyze the available data. "There is a faint energy signature emanating from that system," she announced, her voice low and thoughtful. "A residual trace of something. I cannot identify it." Zil leaned forward, his chitinous face drawn with concern. Could it be a trap, a lure to draw us into an ambush? Vor shook his head. Unlikely. The energy signature is too weak, too old. It is more likely a remnant of some ancient event, a cosmic anomaly that has long since faded into obscurity. But Lyra remained unconvinced. I do not believe in coincidences, Vor. This vessel appeared out of nowhere, transmitted a single cryptic signal, and then altered its course to investigate a forgotten energy signature in the outer reaches of the galaxy. There is a purpose to its actions, a hidden agenda that we have yet to uncover. The silence returned, heavy with unease. The collective sense of relief had vanished, replaced by a renewed wave of anxiety. This was not over, not by a long shot. Across the vast expanse of interstellar space, a vessel of unfamiliar design, its hull shimmering with an iridescent sheen, silently pierced the void. Within its dimly lit control room, a lone figure sat before a complex array of monitors, their face illuminated by the cold glow of the displays. They were human. Captain Eva Rostova, her expression resolute, her eyes fixed on the holographic projection of the uncharted system ahead. "Anything, Lieutenant?" she asked, her voice calm and steady. "Still analyzing the energy signature, Captain," a young officer replied, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "It's faint, almost undetectable, but it's definitely there, resonating at a frequency we haven't encountered before." Rostova nodded, her gaze hardening. "Keep digging. That signal is why we're here. That signal and what it represents." The sensors flared, bathing the control room in a cascade of crimson light. Alarms blared, their strident tones shattering the silence. "Captain, we have multiple contacts on approach," the tactical officer shouted, his voice laced with urgency. "Unknown vessels, design unknown. They're fast, closing in rapidly." Rostova remained calm, her demeanor unwavering. "Shields up, prepare for evasive maneuvers, but hold your fire. We don't want to escalate unless we have to." The vessel shuddered as the alien ships converged, their sleek hulls glinting menacingly in the starlight. Energy weapons charged, casting an ominous glow upon the surrounding space. A tense standoff ensued, a silent battle of wills between two unknown entities, their fates hanging in the balance. "They're hailing us, Captain," the communications officer announced. "But their language, it's unlike anything we've ever encountered." Rostova nodded. "Patch it through. Let's see what they have to say." A series of guttural clicks and resonant tones filled the control room, an alien language that defied all attempts at translation. Rostova listened intently, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Can we decipher any of it?" she asked. The communications officer shook his head. "Negative, Captain. It's completely alien, but there's a pattern, a structure. It's definitely a form of communication." Rostova sighed. "Try sending a universal greeting, standard diplomatic protocols." The communications officer complied, transmitting a series of coded signals designed to convey peaceful intentions. But the alien vessels did not respond. They simply maintained their position, their weapons locked on the human ship. The tension in the control room was palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. Rostova knew that a single misstep, a single moment of hesitation could trigger a deadly confrontation. She weighed her options, her mind racing to calculate the risks and rewards. They were on a mission of vital importance to the future of humanity, but they could not afford to provoke a war with an unknown species. "Captain," the tactical officer reported, his voice strained with concern. "They're powering up their weapons. I don't think they're going to respond to our hails." Rostova took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. "Very well, prepare to defend ourselves, but only as a last resort. Let's see if we can outmaneuver them first." The human vessel surged forward, its engines blazing, executing a series of daring maneuvers that defied the laws of physics. The alien ships pursued relentlessly, their energy weapons tracking the human vessel with deadly accuracy. A tense chase ensued, a desperate game of cat and mouse across the vast expanse of interstellar space. Back on Xylos Prime, the Archons watched the unfolding drama with bated breath. The holographic projection displayed the chaotic dance of the human vessel and the interceptor squadron, a ballet of death and destruction that threatened to engulf the entire system. "They're incredibly agile," Vor marveled, his voice tinged with grudging respect. "Their piloting skills are remarkable." Lyra, however, remained focused on the broader implications of the encounter. Why are they running? If they possess such advanced technology, why not simply overpower our interceptors? Zil pondered her question, his chitinous face creased with concern. "Perhaps they are not as powerful as we initially believed. Perhaps they are simply trying to avoid a confrontation." But Lyra shook her head. "I do not think so. There is something else at play here, something deeper." As the human vessel continued to evade the alien interceptors, Rostova made a crucial decision. "Lieutenant, prepare to activate the cloaking device." The lieutenant looked at her in surprise. "But Captain, the cloaking device is still experimental. We haven't fully tested it in combat situations." Rostova nodded. "I'm aware of the risks, but we have no other choice. If we can disappear, even for a few moments, we might be able to throw them off our trail." The lieutenant hesitated for a moment, then nodded in agreement. "Aye, Captain, activating cloaking device." The human vessel shimmered, its outline blurring until it vanished completely from sight. The alien interceptors, caught off guard, frantically searched for their elusive target. But the human vessel had disappeared, leaving behind only a faint energy signature that quickly dissipated into the void. The Archons watched in stunned silence as the human vessel vanished from the holographic projection. "Impossible!" Vor exclaimed, his voice filled with disbelief. "They simply disappeared. How is that possible?" Lyra, however, remained calm, her mind racing to comprehend the implications of this unexpected development. "Cloaking technology," she murmured, her voice barely audible. "Advanced cloaking technology, far beyond anything we have ever encountered." Zil stared at the empty space where the human vessel had once been, his chitinous face etched with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "This changes everything," he said, his voice low and thoughtful. "We have severely underestimated these humans." The sudden appearance of the human vessel, its defiance of their established protocols, and its possession of technology far beyond their comprehension had shattered their illusions of superiority. They were no longer the unchallenged rulers of the galaxy. A new power had emerged, a power that they did not understand, a power that they could not control. And that realization filled them with a profound sense of unease. After several agonizing hours, the human vessel emerged from its cloaked state, its sensors once again focused on the uncharted system ahead. "The alien ships are gone, Captain," the tactical officer reported. "They've returned to their patrol routes." Rostova nodded, her expression grim. "Good. Let's not give them another reason to come looking for us. Continue our approach to the energy source." As the human vessel drew closer to the uncharted system, the energy signature grew stronger, more distinct. It pulsed with a strange, ethereal rhythm, a resonance that seemed to vibrate deep within Rostova's very being. She felt an inexplicable connection to this unknown signal, a sense of urgency that compelled her to continue her mission, no matter the risks. "Captain," the science officer announced, his voice filled with excitement. "I've managed to isolate the source of the energy signature. It's artificial, a massive structure hidden beneath the surface of a desolate planet." Rostova's eyes widened in disbelief. "A structure? What kind of structure?" The science officer shook his head. "I can't tell for sure. The readings are too faint, too distorted, but it's enormous, unlike anything I've ever seen." Rostova took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. This was it, the moment of truth, the reason why they had risked everything, why they had defied the unknown alien species, why they had ventured into the uncharted depths of the galaxy. "Prepare a landing party," she ordered, her voice firm and resolute. "We're going down there. We're going to find out what that structure is and what it means for humanity." As the human vessel descended towards the desolate planet, Rostova couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to uncover something extraordinary, something that would forever change their understanding of the universe. And she was both terrified and exhilarated by the prospect. The landing party, clad in advanced protective suits, disembarked from the human vessel and stepped onto the barren surface of the desolate planet. The landscape was bleak and unforgiving, a desolate wasteland of rock and dust, bathed in the dim light of a distant sun. A biting wind howled across the plains, carrying with it the faint scent of ozone and decay. Rostova led the way, her pulse rifle held at the ready, her senses on high alert. They traversed the desolate terrain for several hours, following the faint energy signature that guided them towards their destination. Finally, they reached it, a massive chasm hidden beneath a layer of loose rock and dust. The energy signature pulsed from the depths of the chasm, a beacon calling them to the unknown. Rostova approached the edge of the chasm, her heart pounding in her chest. She peered into the darkness below, her eyes struggling to adjust to the gloom. And then she saw it. A colossal structure, carved into the very fabric of the planet, its sheer scale defying comprehension. It was a labyrinth of corridors and chambers, of towering spires and intricate carvings, all constructed from a material that seemed to absorb the light, rendering it almost invisible. Rostova stared in awe, her mind reeling from the implications of this incredible discovery. "What is it?" one of the team members whispered, his voice filled with a mixture of fear and wonder. Rostova shook her head, unable to find the words to describe what she was seeing. "I don't know," she said finally, "but we're going to find out." The landing party descended into the chasm, their flashlights cutting through the darkness, illuminating the ancient structure that lay before them. They moved cautiously, their weapons drawn, their senses on high alert. The air was thick with the scent of dust and decay, and a sense of profound age permeated the very stones. They navigated the labyrinthine corridors, their footsteps echoing through the silent chambers. And as they ventured deeper into the structure, they began to uncover its secrets. The structure was filled with artifacts, with technology, with knowledge beyond human comprehension. They found devices that manipulated gravity, that harnessed energy from the very fabric of space-time, that communicated with entities beyond the known universe. They found records, preserved for millennia, detailing the history of a civilization far older and more advanced than their own. A civilization that had mastered the secrets of the cosmos, that had transcended the limitations of their physical bodies, that had ultimately vanished without a trace. Rostova and her team were overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the discovery. They were uncovering the remnants of a lost civilization, a civilization that held the key to unlocking the universe's greatest mysteries. But as they delved deeper into the structure, they began to realize that this lost civilization had not simply vanished. They had been destroyed by something terrible, something that had left behind only ruins and echoes. They found evidence of a great war, a cosmic conflict that had raged across the galaxy, a battle between light and darkness, between order and chaos. And they realized that this war was not over. It was merely dormant, waiting to be reignited. And the signal that had led them to this desolate planet, the signal that had drawn them into the heart of this ancient mystery, was a warning about the dangers that lurked in the shadows, about the forces that threatened to consume the universe. Rostova knew that they had stumbled upon something far greater than they could have ever imagined. They had uncovered a secret that could save humanity or destroy it. Back on Xylos Prime, the Archons were in turmoil. The sensor readings from the Uncharted system were chaotic, fluctuating wildly. They could not determine what was happening on the surface of the planet, but they knew that something extraordinary was taking place. "The energy signatures are off the charts," Vor exclaimed, his voice filled with alarm. "Something is destabilizing the planet's core. We need to pull our interceptors out of there immediately." But Lyra hesitated. "No," she said, her voice firm. "We must observe. We must understand what is happening." Zil looked at her in surprise. "Lyra, are you mad? We could lose our entire interceptor squadron." Lyra shook her head. "The potential knowledge to be gained outweighs the risk. These humans, they have uncovered something significant, something that we must understand." Despite his misgivings, Zil agreed to Lyra's request. They would continue to monitor the situation, to observe the actions of the humans, to try and decipher the mystery that was unfolding on the desolate planet. They knew that they were playing a dangerous game, that they were risking their own safety for the sake of knowledge. But they also knew that they had no other choice. The fate of their civilization, perhaps the fate of the entire galaxy, might depend on what they learned from these humans. Rostova and her team continued their exploration of the ancient structure, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. They reached the heart of the structure, a vast chamber filled with an intricate array of consoles and displays. In the center of the chamber, they found it, a holographic projection depicting a map of the galaxy, with countless stars and planets connected by a network of energy pathways. But one region of the galaxy was shrouded in darkness, a vast void that seemed to consume everything in its path. And from this void, a tendril of darkness was slowly extending, reaching towards the other regions of the galaxy, threatening to engulf everything in its path. Rostova realized what she was seeing: a map of the encroaching darkness, the force that had destroyed the lost civilization, the force that threatened to consume the universe. And then the holographic projection shifted, focusing on a single star system. The Sol system, the home of humanity. Rostova stared in horror, her blood running cold. The darkness was coming for them, and they were completely unprepared. Rostova knew that she had to act quickly. She had to warn humanity about the impending threat. But she also knew that they could not face this darkness alone. They needed allies. They needed help. And she realized that the alien species that had been monitoring them, the species that they had initially perceived as a threat, might be their only hope. Rostova made a bold decision. She activated the communication system of the ancient structure and transmitted a message to the alien species, a message of warning. A message of hope, a message of unity. On Xylos Prime, the Archons received Rostova's message. They listened intently, their chitinous faces etched with a mixture of disbelief and fear. The message was clear. The darkness was coming, and it threatened to consume them all. Zil, Vor, and Lyra looked at each other, their minds racing to comprehend the implications of this revelation. They had underestimated the humans. They had dismissed them as insignificant. But now they realized that these humans were not only a threat, but also a potential ally. They had uncovered a secret that could save them all, but only if they worked together. Zil made a momentous decision. He ordered the defense fleets to stand down. He extended an olive branch to the humans. He offered them an alliance. Rostova received Zil's message with a mixture of relief and trepidation. She knew that this alliance was their only hope, but she also knew that it would not be easy. There were centuries of mistrust and animosity to overcome, but they had no other choice. The darkness was coming, and they had to face it together. In the desolate system far from Xylo's prime, a new alliance was forged, built on mutual fear and mutual hope. Humans and Xylosians stood shoulder to shoulder, preparing to face the ancient darkness that threatened to consume all light. But as they prepared for war, they received a second message, from deeper still within the ancient structure, echoing through the void. It wasn't a warning this time, not a plea. It was an invitation, a series of complex nested prime numbers, a mathematical proof of higher existence, an invitation to transcend the cycle of light and dark and to join something greater. And it came from beyond the darkness, from the source of creation itself, a realm of infinite possibilities that lay beyond the reach of their current understanding. It was an invitation that challenged everything they thought they knew about the universe. As Rostova and Zil listened to the message, they knew that the coming war was just a prelude to something far more profound. They had glimpsed a future where humanity and the Xylosians could not only survive but thrive, not just as allies, but as something more. The true test would be whether they could embrace that future, even as the darkness closed in. The choice was theirs.